I'm joined now by artist Katie Rose. Katie, thank you for being here. I read that you didn't really start getting into your art until like a couple years ago.
I've really only been selling my stuff since like last fall. So yeah, during lockdown is when I started.
Okay, I hear that a lot, but when did you really start creating art? Have you always been artistic?
I've always seen myself as more of an analytical person versus like a creative brain. But I did some clay stuff when I was in like junior high. I would make little figurines for my friends and birthdays and like Mother's Day and stuff like that. So I guess I started in a young teenage years, but not really anything like this before.
So you started with clay, but now you do more resin and what else?
So right now I'm doing like a mix of resin and clay, but the main material that I use is dried flowers. I've really taken a liking to that, and people really seem to think that it's unique. And the whole process from like picking a flower out of my yard or taking somebody's wedding flowers and then turning it into art or something to wear is a lot of fun.
Okay, walk me through how all of this kind of came to be. So you had your creative outlet with clay when you were younger, and then when did you sort of start getting back into art? And when did you decide that it was going to be clay and resin and all of that?
Yeah, so I was just window shopping Etsy one day and I saw something for sale and it was just like a resin statue, but it was like $70 and I thought I could make that myself. I've always been really into like DIY and figuring out how to do it on my own, learning along the way. And then I just kept going down the rabbit hole of, well, what else can you make with resin? And then jewelry was a big thing that clicked.
Sure.
So I just started making that for fun. And then I got to the point that I had so much, I couldn't wear it all myself. So then I started bringing it to my friends and family, and then they just encouraged me to like, sell it on the weekends.
So what do you feel like adding this artistic outlet has contributed to just kind of your life in general? Has it changed things for you?
My life has completely changed, even just like since February.
Wow, how so?
I was in marketing. I went to school for marketing and I was in digital advertising for the past 6 years. And I really enjoy that. I'm very passionate about it, but that was like the analytical part of my brain. I've always identified as a nerd. And then after Christmas time, really, with all of the clay and resin stuff selling, it's done very well. And it got to the point where I had a little bit of burnout from my 9 to 5. And so I just took the leap, and I have multiple part-time jobs now, but my main one is Pixel and Petal. And so it just keeps growing.
Yeah, okay, so Pixel and Petal is the name of your business. Tell me how that came to be.
Well, when I was going about the branding process, which was nice, like being in the advertising background,
Sure.
I kind of knew all the steps to take. I wanted somewhat of a reference to my last name, Rose. Everybody always likes Katie Rose. I go by it because there's always another Katie in the room.
Yep.
So I wanted to figure out how to incorporate Rose. And I also wanted to have like a reference to what I've spent my adult life doing, which has been like data analytics and digital
Sure.
marketing. And my cat is also named Pixel. So Pixel is a direct reference to my cat's name. She's very cute, and I call her my project manager. She's always up in my business when I'm working on stuff. It's also a reference to just like always having stuff online in my career.
Yeah.
So that's a very deep cut to that. And then Pixel and Petal. Petal was originally just a reference to my last name being Rose. And then it just sort of naturally happened that I now primarily work with dried flowers and
Yes.
dried petals of flowers. So,
Okay, so tell me how it says on your website, if you see it on Etsy, we can make it. That would be terrifying to me to put that on my business website. So do you ever get requests for things that you're like, I have no idea how to do that?
yeah, I feel like a good example is the first thing that I ever sold on Etsy was a set of dominoes that a mother-in-law wanted to buy for her son. And she kind of gave me creative freedom, and she just said, I like the idea of buying dominoes, and he likes eating like nuts and playing games. So we came about the idea of doing a set of dominoes with actual like Planters mixed nuts in them. And so it's a little scary, but I also I like to people are creative. So if they have ideas, I like to be able to help them execute those ideas. it's a lot of fun to hear people share their ideas, because I still don't really see myself as like an artist. It's weird when people call me that. So when other people can share an idea and express their artistic, excitement, and then I can actually make that into something that they can hold in their hands or like give to somebody that they care about, that's really exciting for me.
How do you learn how to execute these ideas? Do you just do your research and use Google?
Yeah, I really know how to use Google from my past career. But yeah, it's some research, and then it's a lot of experimentation. It's a lot of failing. One thing that I remember from a creative team meeting that I was in one day was somebody said, "You're not being creative enough if your dumpster isn't full," as in like your dumpster's full of bad ideas that didn't work out, but at least you tried. So it's a lot of trial and error.
How often do you kind of design your own pieces, and how often are you just doing straight commission? How is that working out?
I don't have a ton of commission work yet. I think it's partly because I make so much myself and I have such a variety. So working with the flowers, I buy a lot of stuff online, but this year I'm trying to grow my own flowers, or I've actually met with a few like local florists or like garden centers. And so I'll take the flowers that either, they're not going to sell, they're damaged. You can usually disassemble them and make something pretty to wear with those. So I would definitely love to get more into commission work. I'm trying to figure out how to reach more brides. So wedding flower preservation. People spend so much money on flowers for their wedding day.
Yeah.
So it's not only like getting more bang for your buck, but preserving the memories. And that was actually a very terrifying creative process for me, because with the silicone molds, you actually have to pour everything upside down. So you don't know what the end product is until it's hardened, and there is no getting stuff out of the resin. So if you have air bubbles, if you have like a random cat hair or a piece of glitter that got in there somehow and you don't see it, there's no getting out of there.
How do you get past that fear of potentially messing it up so that you can continue making beautiful art?
It's a lot of practicing. So with the more advanced methods that I use, or different like intricate molds, some shapes are very strange, or there's like more prone to air bubbles. It's a lot of like using my own personal stuff. You just literally not selling something, just making it to practice. I have way too many molds. I probably have, I think I counted once and it was months ago, and I had like 200 some molds of just different shapes that I've never used, and I've also never sold. I mean, we've talked about dominoes.
Oh yes, the dominoes.
I have chess sets and checkerboards and like drinking Jenga, like all kinds of games. And then like home decor, I have coasters, trays, outlet switch sockets. They literally have molds for everything. And then bookmarks, journals, pens.
So what is your favorite?
Well, I think my favorite is probably the jewelry, just because people get excited about wearing it and it makes them feel better. Before I started making jewelry myself, I never really wore earrings.
Yeah.
I never saw myself as like a big statement type of earring person. But then, of course, I had to wear my own stuff to market my own stuff.
Right.
And then I've realized over time that like I'm not someone who can't pull off a big pair of earrings. Like anybody really can.
Yeah.
And so that has actually helped like with my self-confidence of wearing not only my own stuff, but like wearing something that I thought I wouldn't be able to pull off fashion-wise.
So actually that leads me to another question. The pair of earrings you're wearing today, for example, when I first met you, I was like, oh, those are really stylish. I am not an especially stylish person. So how do you come up with your ideas? Do you just have to, scour the internet and look for what's trendy and what's cool? I wouldn't know what's cool if it came out and bit me.
So usually I just buy the shapes that I think are interesting to use. So some people will make resin molds, and some people make clay cutters. So usually I will scour Etsy or window shop online and I'll see a shape and I'll be like, oh, I've never seen that before. I also like the organic looking, you know, some are sharp, some have sharp edges, some are just organic, which I feel like goes well with the resin or the flowers. But yeah, I don't usually have an end result in mind, which I think is part of why I like the creative process so much. I've always had very strict goals that I've tried to set for myself in my life, and right now, especially with the creative design of Pixel and Petal, I just kind of free flow and just pick a color, find some flowers, and then grab a couple shapes and see if it turns out okay.
So knowing that Pixel and Petal is doing so well and knowing that you set goals for yourself, what's next? Do you have another, benchmark in mind? Do you want to open your own brick and mortar someday, or?
That would be terrifying. So right now, the goals that I'm actively working on are finding other opportunities to sell in real life, so other markets. I'm usually at the farmers market, and I've found some like festivals to join as a vendor. So I like selling in real life. It's definitely easier to sell online, but I also view myself as an introvert, and so being able to like push myself to go out and talk to people and also try to sell them on something has been, I feel like, a good personal exercise for me. I'm getting like more confident in meeting other people. So finding other places to sell around the area as a vendor at local markets, festivals, whatever. But also I've started to find more and more interest in getting my stuff in local brick and mortar stores. I don't think I would ever want to open my own brick and mortar, but maybe just having like a little stand in like some local boutiques or local businesses that have a couple Pixel and Petal things in it. I feel like that would be pretty cool to walk in and see my own stuff.
I cannot wait to see what happens next with Pixel and Petal and with your collaborations with all of the people. That's so cool that the collaborations you have are with people who are going to be the end users. Anyway, your stuff is beautiful. I love it. And I just thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me.